Yeah, sure. The leadership charisma is about how leaders can directly impact the people that work for them in such a way that those people become fully engaged. Simple as that. It's about making sure that the people that work for you want to produce the extra productivity and the sort of results that all of our organizations need in this kind of tough economy. Well, if you look at charismatic leaders throughout history, and think of any charismatic leader that you can imagine, anybody at all, and one of the things that you notice about them is that they had an extraordinary ability to motivate people to do difficult things, to rise against adversity, to produce results that seemed impossible in absolutely impossible situations. And they motivated them, they raised them, they got them engaged with a cause. And more than ever in the economy that we're in today, our leaders have to be capable of engaging our people in the cause of producing superior results for the organization. Because if they don't, quite simply, the best we can do is survive. And some organizations just simply won't. It really, in an economy like this, it's all about engagement. So if you've got a leader who's capable of motivating people, of creating a vision of something that they want to buy into and they're prepared to invest themselves in, well then your organization, it really can fail. Oh, what a buzz. I mean, we had an enormous amount of research into in this book, and we'll talk about that shortly, that said that what we were writing in the book was right, was going to work, was going to make a difference in organizations in America and elsewhere in the world. But still, when it comes to just that 11th hour, when you're just about to launch all of that work that you've put so much time, energy, and money into, there's still a slight nervousness that, will people get it? Well, we had a little over 500 people at that conference, and every single one of them got it, to the extent that by the end of that conference, almost 10,000 copies of the book were gone. But more importantly than the copies of the book being gone, people were buzzing with the idea that they could go back to their clients, they could go back to the people that worked with them and worked for them, and they, through their directly through adapting the behaviors that they use to manage those people, could motivate them, engage them, and actually become charismatic leaders, actually become people whom their people would look up to and be motivated by. So the cocktail party was the start of what's been a hell of a 5 months. Okay, they can learn very specifically how great charismatic leaders harness a clearly identified set of behaviors to evoke in their people a motivation, an engagement with their work in the organization that will contribute directly to the bottom line. So leadership charisma is a step-by-step guide to any leader how to motivate and how to engage people for superior results. Yeah, well, by definition from the diary or from the dictionary, it certainly says it's a God-given gift. But no, God-given gift and charisma as a term in general is a cop-out, because we tend to ascribe the quality of charisma to people who achieve extraordinary results because it allows us then not to have to strive to get their sort of results. And the reason we don't want to strive so hard is traditionally we think they have something special. To be able to get results to put them so far above everybody else, they must have something special. Well, reality, the research shows, they just do something special. There are specific behaviors that they engage in that get that charismatic impact. So if it's a God-given gift, it's a gift that He's given to us all. It's just a question of whether we're prepared to exercise that gift to put those behaviors into action. Absolutely. There's some very, very interesting footage. If you look at one of our most charismatic leaders in the business world today, and you look at Steve Jobs, you look at the earliest footage of that man doing an interview, and what you see is a nervous kid about to go coast to coast in the United States on his first interview, and he's nervous, he's uncertain, he is anything but charismatic. And then you look at him in 2010, you look at him on his feet in front of his people, and his people are just, they are so devoted and engaged by the vision that he's created for them. Somewhere in that 20-year period, he has learned how to be charismatic. He has learned how to do the things that has a charismatic impact upon people. So absolutely, any leader who cares to take the time and the energy to understand what the behaviors are that the charismatic leaders exercise can become charismatic. Certainly can become an awful lot more charismatic and productive and motivating than they are right now. It has been extraordinary. It really has been extraordinary. Our research covered over 100 countries. So we knew that that the research that we based the book upon worked everywhere. But again, it always goes through your head that people may not buy into it. You can have the research and people say, yeah, but I don't choose to accept that. So in the first few seminars and webinars and presentations where we launched the book and we did workshops on leadership charisma, there's a certain part of you that says, I hope this works. Oh, I hope they get it. I hope they buy into it. Well, you know, we've done this so far in the United Kingdom, in Ireland, Slovenia, Lithuania, Latvia, Norway, Denmark, France, Germany, Austria, Turkey, a whole, just about all of Greater Europe, and some of my colleagues are doing it elsewhere. And we're getting an absolute universal aha. Everybody says, oh shoot, that makes sense, that works. So the reaction has been absolutely overwhelmingly positive. The interesting thing, Dario, about the difference from country to country is when we looked at the research itself, is the same set of behaviors drive a charismatic impact on people, regardless which of those 100+ countries you go to. Now, in some countries, some of the behaviors are more important than others. So in some countries, the making eye contact is particularly important. In American culture, UK culture, and Irish culture, it's particularly important. In other cultures, it's not quite as high up the scale, but it still has an impact. So the same ideas work, the same tools work, but they just have a different prominence. The great thing about this leadership charisma as a unifying theme is that you're using, as I say, what they already know to focus upon getting the results they want from their people, from getting their people engaged. I think the biggest surprise is the extent to which people are taking what we're saying in leadership charisma and are using leadership charisma to connect everything that they've read before on leadership. Because one of the things that you realize when you read leadership charisma is that there's a great amount of the accepted wisdom on what is essential for making a leader successful. But people tend to move from guru to guru, from the latest or the best new idea to the best new idea year on year as they work their way through their leadership career. What we're seeing when we talk to people about leadership charisma is they suddenly realize, oh God, what you're doing is you're connecting all the dots on everything I knew about being a good leader. And you're telling me how to use everything I already knew in a very coordinated fashion to create a direct, measurable impact upon my people. So I think the biggest impact has been, and the biggest learning has been, the extent to which people just, again, I'll go back to that expression, the extent to which they get it. It just makes sense to them. I think the key thing, if I was to put it down to one point, charisma, specifically the charisma of a leader, all comes down to the extent to which that person's entire way of approaching their people and their entire set of behaviors is focused outward upon the people that they're managing. Because by definition, a leader's job is not to do the job, it's to motivate other people to want to do it. So the key message that comes out is exactly the same key message as you see in the book. It is, if you want to motivate people, you need to be all about them. In the workshop, it's easier to get that message across because, of course, you get to talk more with people, interact with them, talk about their particular experiences. But I think the key thing that you learn from that workshop is it's all about the people that work for you. I'm a little bit of a bigot when it comes to business books, and I read a lot on business topics. And the business books that I am absolutely, totally resistant to and bigoted against are those which deliver theoretical, wonderful concepts, well thought out and well researched, and then tell you nothing about how are you going to use this in the real world. So they leave it for 10 years for people to try and make the mistakes and fall over and fall down 9 times and stand up 10, and eventually somebody figures out how to apply it. In Leadership Charisma, we went out of our way to make this a handbook. This is a how-to guide for a leader to turn themselves into the sort of charismatic leader who engages people to get superior results. So it's not a reference work, it's not a theoretical work, it's not a research work. It is a practical guide for leaders involved every day in the business of trying to get results from people.